Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 24th of May, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index. The dollar just flat the last day or so, but this medium-term trend still continuing to rise, and these upside targets 2.5% higher, 3.4% higher, still in train. So dollar still looks strong, short and medium term. And the euro is still bearish below the cloud, recovering a little bit this morning, but this 114 target is there, and 114 would be quite a critical level for the euro. That would break last year's low. And we're seeing this trend already really ending. Although we're above the cloud on the long-term chart, the medium-term and the short-term charts are still clearly bearish. The Japanese yen, the dollar is weaker here, so this is just showing a retracement in the dollar against the yen, and we are seeing that just filtering through. And sterling actually also seeing just a little bit of an improvement, although still bearish short to medium term. So strong yen is really a theme there. Looking at the euro sterling rate, fairly flat, and against the Swiss franc, sterling still pushing lower, bearish below the cloud at 130. We were as low as 132 yesterday. We're back at 133 this morning, and against the Aussie dollar, still teetering along at 177. Bitcoin is up this morning, some 2.5%, but it has been falling quite dramatically. Yesterday we had big moves down. This downside target of $6,174 now looking more and more on the cards. Just that failure to get through the cloud on that lagging line on the medium-term chart is bearish for Bitcoin. Looking at the S&P 500 index, we had it overnight. A small rise of about a third of a percent. The Nasdaq was also up, and the Dow Jones index was up 0.2%, and the broader-based U.S. market, the top 2,000 stocks, was little changed. Looking at the futures this morning, we're down about 0.2% on the S&P, and the Nasdaq E-mini we're down 0.3%, a third of a percent. So we are seeing the likelihood that U.S. markets will open lower today. The Looking at the UK market, stronger this morning. It has been really quite an ascent for the UK, primarily driven by weaker sterling over the last several weeks, and we have been making new all-time highs, unlike the US market. The mid caps also pulling forward as well, but just this last couple of days we are coming back to the trend. So interestingly, we are stuck here, and a shortage of upside targets just does make it harder to call where the market's going in the coming days and week. The Xetra DAX also just finding support on the cloud at the moment. Upside targets of 4%, 3%, 2%. So we are seeing multiple upside targets on the short-term chart there. And the CAC 40 was the strongest looking European market over the last week or two, has fallen away. Price is back below the cloud, but the lagging line finding support on the cloud, and we still do have this upside target of 4.7% as well. Japanese stocks, Asia was mostly down. Automakers badly hit on Trump's uh, agenda of import tariffs on Asian autos, and we are seeing that affecting the market. So Japanese stocks fell into bearish territory on the short-term chart. Maybe we're just struggling on this lagging line to get through on the medium-term chart. So the Japanese market's still looking a little bit concerning. Also, the Hang Seng was little changed, and the Shanghai market was down a very small amount as well. So it was mostly Tokyo that was hit. The Sensex was up 0.5%, and the Aussie market very little changed. Brent crude still holding on to most of its gains, sitting at $79.45. Still bearish short term. Another new upside target's crept in today to 80.64. That's 1.5% upside. Looking like we will go back above $80. And WTI not looking as strong as Brent. There are upside targets, but they're of a smaller magnitude. Looking at US nat gas, we did jump yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what happens with storage numbers today. Prices are emerging medium term out of the doldrums here, but it has been a slow rise. We do have upside targets to around $3, so it looks like we might get there. Taking a look at gold, gold also just continuing its slow recovery, still bullish short term. We've got a target of 13.17 for gold, just waiting for the summer rally to kick in, and also we're seeing on silver just bullish above the cloud as well. US 10-year yields actually back below 3%. The consensus is now that the Federal Reserve will raise in June after the release of comments yesterday, but we are seeing that we're just having a sell-off in yields at the moment, back into the mid 290s. But we are still bullish medium and long term on the yield. Apple was up yesterday about 2/3%. Just really flat at the moment on that short-term chart, as is Amazon. They were up 1.3%, but still relatively flat, just struggling to make new all-time highs. Google, which has been lagging, was up just under 1%. And Facebook, sitting in these mid 180s, was up 1.7%, so looking strong there as well. And Microsoft was up over 1% too. That's it for today. It's a long weekend in the UK this weekend, and I'm off tomorrow, so I'm not back now until Tuesday the 29th. So until then, happy charting. See you then.